guys, Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Now I've just come off the back of the free-to-play series warm-up. I've created a new free-to-play account for the Hell Hades free-to-play tournament. There will be a link in the description below where you can go and find out everything that is going on this year for the free-to-play challenge. It's a little bit different. We've got some point league tables this time. It's only going to last for 3 months, and we have more creators than we've ever had before. So I'm a bit tired. If I look a little bit sort of out of it, that is because we have been working super hard and getting all that ready. So I'm on about 10 hours sleep over 3 days, but we'll see how this goes. So what I wanted to do today was talk about the fusion. You know, you're going to be making a decision probably today, maybe tomorrow if you haven't already, whether or not you're going to be going for this Blademaster fusion. She is only available exclusively 100% in this fusion. If you do not do this fusion, you can never get Zinogre again, ever, in the game at all. I want to make that very clear. It's a very important factor in the decision that you're going to make as to whether or not you go for Zinogre Blademaster here, because if you don't go for her, you cannot get her again. So that is a risk and decision you take, whether or not you think it's needed for your account, whether or not you want this champion. But let's just put that to a side for a second. Let's evaluate Zinogre on the merits of her fusion schedule, how easy it is, and also on the champion itself. So firstly, let's just talk about the champion, because that's always the most important factor. Is Zinogre Blademaster average? Now, the reason why I'm using average is because I've seen a lot of Reddit posts, a lot of comments on other creator YouTube videos, lots of different things basically coming out saying, this fusion is average. She's not that good. She doesn't do anything that fun. She's not that special. She doesn't do anything crazy. I'm not that interested in her. She's not as good as some other people in Fire Knight. She doesn't do much turn meter dropping. There's lots of different things about, different things that people have said as feedback. They just feel like this fusion champion is average. Now, I do think that this champion has positives. I do think this champion has some negatives. But overall, I would say this is one of the most important champion fusions you could get. And the reason why I'm using that phrasing is I'm always basing this on where would I need to use this champion in the future, right? Is this champion going to be something that I need to beat the City of Sintranos, to beat a Fire Knight stage, to beat new content? It's always a risk when you skip anything that is unique. Now, what I tend to do when I look at fusions, I look at what sort of player progression, how valuable is it for early to mid game to late game, how good is it in terms of very specific areas, is it a specialist in any specific area, and does it do something unique that no other champion in the game can do. Now, if a champion comes out that doesn't do anything specifically unique, that isn't necessarily a specialist anyway, that doesn't exactly kind of light the world up on fire. Now, if there's no unique aspect, then that one is that's the type of champion that I would go, okay, it's average, it can be skipped, because you can replace what the champion can do with another champion, right? There's like a classic example here is Jetney. Jetney did damage with defense drop. Now, War Maiden is capable of doing defense down. You can find your damage elsewhere. You are not losing out if you didn't get your Jetney. It might be different now because of the City Sintranos. There were stages where Jetney was very important, and that's always going to be something that you now need to take into account when we look at these heroes. Is the City of Sintranos going to break that? Now, so let's take a look at what Zinogre has got here. We've got an A1, attacks one enemy 3 times, has a 30% chance of placing a 25% weaken. Now, this A1 only has 1 chance of placing the weaken. It doesn't do it on every single hit. I checked the code. It only does 1 individual roll. So this is actually quite poor, because 30% chance, there's no extra chance on the books here. Normally you get a little bit on the A1. I wonder if this should have been coded or was intended to be coded as a per hit chance, hence why there is no additional bonus chance, because right now it's coded to just basically roll chance once. So this is quite a weak version of weaken. Then we get the A2, attacks one enemy 4 times. Each hit increases this champion's turn meter by 5%. So as long as you don't weak hit, you'll get a turn meter. If you weak hit, you don't get the turn meter boost. So keep that in mind if you're building with any specific speed tunes, which is negative affinity. This could be problematic. Also increases speed on all allies for 2 turns, and that's on a 3-turn cooldown. That is very good. It's always very important that the increased speed buff on all allies is on a 3-turn cooldown so that you can speed tune it into clan boss. If it's on a 4-turn cooldown, it's much more complicated. This is why Frostbringer is not very good, because of the 4-turn cooldown on the A3. And then finally, we got Blade Spin, attacks one enemy 4 times, so another 4-hitter. Before attacking, increase attack buff on this champion for 2 turns on herself. The first and the second hit each have a 75% chance of placing leech. The third and the fourth hit each have a 75% chance of placing decreased attack. That is on a 3-turn cooldown. And then we get a passive effect. Increases this damage this champion deals by 1% for every 1% of HP loss, up to 50%. So fully stacked when she is at half health. And the damage is then doubled if a target is under decreased defense. This will prevent the champion's death as well on an active 4-turn cooldown and keep them alive on 1 HP. If it does prevent their death, it'll heal them, and it won't do it if they're in heal reduction. I know right now this is bugged. This active effect doesn't always work, but I'm sure that they will fix it like they do most unintended bugs. We get a 30% speed aura in all dungeons as well. So what are we getting here? We're getting a triple, quadra, and quadra hit. That immediately screams Finite, Finite Hard, Finite Normal. You might think Finite Hard, there's no freeze. This volume of attacks, when we've got a Mikage in the game who will basically force a Shadowkin champion to join her A1s, that is very powerful. It's very, very powerful. Now, when you add in the context that she's going to self-buff her own damage, she's going to do increased speed buff on a 3-turn cooldown for all allies, she kind of fills many different roles. It allows your freeze champions, like someone like Creodon, he doesn't have to use his A3 for the speed buff. He can continuously use his freeze abilities. This is very good for that. Not only that, we also get a prevention of death, and we also get a Leorius passive. Assuming you can get decreased defense, this is effectively what Leorius does. Every 1% of HP lost on Leorius increases his damage. The difference is he will go to 99% when he gets to 1% HP. Zinogre will be at 99% at half her HP if you're attacking an enemy under decreased defense. So this damage bonus, compared to these multipliers, really pushes her damage up. Her base attack's a little bit low at 1465. We like to see anything above 1500 these days, but her base HP is very good. Her defense is sort of okay. Good base speed of 104, and we get a little bit of this. But what really makes this great is the aura as well. So if you're thinking about a Finite Hard, right? A very good team that people uses Razelvarg. Why do we use Razelvarg? Because Razelvarg brings lots of damage. He also brings a 20% speed aura. He also brings increased speed, and he also has a triple hit A1. So a lot of people will use Razelvarg as their lead and also as their main damage dealer to deal with the boss. Now, you do lose the AoE, which is a factor for killing the waves, and you do lose this stacking passive. So potentially, he is going to gain a lot of damage. However, I would value a flat multiplicative damage based on HP like this much higher. Now, the only downside is there's a leech. So activating this passive whilst actually wanting to place debuffs would not be very good, because you do not want to place the leech, because if you place the leech, then you are going to heal yourself out of your damage window, which is not desirable, especially in Finite Hardware. Potentially you might be full HP anyways. It's very difficult to activate this passive, which is a downside a little bit. But I can see the concept where they're basically trying to say, you know, she gets attacked, she doesn't die, and then she comes back in with the A3 and leech and heals herself back up. That's kind of like the concept they've gone for. But even that aside, I think the fact that she does a self-buffing damage, which Razelvarg does not do, an AoE increased speed, and you also get all these hits with it, and the fact she's Shadowkin makes it really, really interesting if you're planning to use Mikage. Does she replace the Genzin? Okay, Genzin has decreased defense. I believe he has a decreased defense option. Blademasters are weakened, but you can find your decreased defense in a Farrakhan the Fact, for example. You can find it in other ally attack champions. There's other options you can do. So I actually think she's incredibly powerful for a Finite Hard team. But more importantly, if there's ever a Cintrano stage, we know Finite Hard is in multiple bosses. If there is ever a Cintrano stage where you need a Finite champion, and you need, like, this champion fits that bill so well, because you get lots of speed with the increased speed and lots of attacks. So she could prove essential if that comes up. This aura is very powerful for an early game progression. 30% aura. In actuality, if you paired this champion, which has weaken, self-buff and increased attack, and an AoE increased speed, with the new login champion, Rathalos, which is a decreased defense and more damage, you kind of have like a starter pack for your kind of like any team, your clan boss team, your finite team, your dungeon teams. It pretty much will give you a good starter pack because you get everything you need. This champion even has decreased attack. So fighting a boss, Zinogre is really great, and then Rathalos will do damage. Fighting wave, Rathalos can come in and help out, but she will help get you through the waves with increased speed. It's a very cool combo. So I actually disagree with lots of the community sentiment about this champion. I think a lot of people are underestimating her quality and her strength right now. I think they're underestimating her quality and her strength because she does something unique. And the reason why I say she does something unique, there's plenty of AoE increased speed champions in the game now. There's about 20 different abilities on a 3-turn cooldown. So you've got people like Elva that can do it. You've got people like Iris can do it. There's options out there. Lydia, I think, can do it as well. But what there isn't is a dedicated damage dealer that can do it on a 3-turn cooldown. We have someone here who can hit exclusively quite hard and give the speed buff. That frees up a support option because you don't need to bring support dedicated for increased speed. It allows your freeze champions to do more freezes. There's lots of different flexible options you can have with this. So I actually think she's very good for that factor. So overall, when we think of the categories of how I look at a champion, I'm saying it does something unique because it has a very strong aura with a very cool passive. It's damage oriented with support buffs. It does have an MVP area in Finite Heart. I think it's going to be a very good option if you don't have the Genzen, if you don't have the Razelvarg. This is probably your next best look, your next best option, especially when you get Mikage. You know, everyone eventually will get Mikage. They've been putting those epics in the summon rushes a lot, and this progressive chances. So eventually you will get them. So I think that paired with Mikage makes her an MVP area. And even in the early game, a decreased attack, which has 2 chances of success on a negative affinity. So if you're fighting negative affinity, which is a much more of an impact in the early game, then you get 2 rolls at a decreased attack. If you're doing it in Clan Boss, for example, she doesn't need someone to give her increased attack. If you're fighting her in Arena, you get this increased speed. Okay, she doesn't have any AoE. She is a boss-oriented champion. But bosses were always going to be a problem for you when you're progressing through Doom Tower, when you're progressing through different stages. So this aura as well, do not underestimate the value of a 30% AoE aura here, right? If you've got 100 speed, that's 30 speed for free. On a free-to-play account, on a newer account, on an early game to mid-game account, 30 speed is like gold dust. So this aura is very powerful. So let's just take a quick look at the schedule. So the basic summary here is you've got 135 fragments, but 20 are available from the champion training tournament and also from the champion chase. So if you're not going to win those 20, you've got 115. Now that means you can, if you want to, skip the summon rush that is active right now and go for the champion chase. You can go for the summon rush right now and skip the champion chase, or you can do both the summoning events and then you can skip all of the artifact enhancements, or maybe you skip 1 artifact enhancement and 2 divers. Maybe you want to skip the entire champion training event here, this 6-day monolithic crazy champion training event. You've got 3 individual tournaments or events that you could skip, excluding the event, which is 1 event, that you can basically just save your silver, save your resources. Silver is such a valuable resource because of the City of Sintranos. That's very forgiving. Being able to skip an entire summoning event is actually very good if you wanted to do so. There's the usual subjects are in here. We've got 2 training tournaments, 3 artifact enhancements, 3 dungeon divers. It's going to be very difficult from the resource point of view. It always is, but not more difficult than any other sort of fusion. I think this is probably one of the easiest side of the fusions here compared to the ones we've had in the last 6 months. You can skip a fair amount depending on where you want to put your resource commitment. There's lots of options. So that kind of encourages me to say, do it again as well, right? Now we've got a champion that can only be acquired from this fusion, a champion that is on paper pretty unique. There's not many combinations of this skill set together in a single champion. Is a champion that you might find very powerful in Sintranos in the future if a rotation comes up that you need her. And also a champion here that is not so difficult to get on a fusion schedule. So those are all very good positives. Is she the world's craziest champion? Of course not. She's not a newt. She's not going to break the game. But she does do stuff that's really interesting. I already have some clan boss teams in mind that I'm going to put her in. I've got one that makes her that allows her to go on a 2-1, but in Relentless. We might be able to push it to a 3-1. There's lots of different combinations, and that's also activating her passive as well and not requiring her to have accuracy. So there's lots of different things we can do. Obviously, I would have tested it for this video, and I would have showcased the champion a bit more, but I don't have access to the test server, so I have to do the fusion along with all of you guys and wait until I've completed it and summoned it in probably like a CVC on January the 23rd or something of that nature to actually test it. So there we go, guys. Zinogre Blademaster, one of the 2 probably most available Monster Hunter champions. Obviously, Rathalos is coming in the next few days. I will be doing a Rathalos live stream on the hour when we collect him. I've been collecting him every single day so far, so we're going to be able to collect him not today, but tomorrow's reset. So that's going to be on midnight UTC on Sunday. I'll probably start the stream about an hour before, so about 11 p.m. on Sunday at UTC time. I'll be jumping in on stream and we will be grabbing this guy straight away, and I will max him out and I will put him through his sort of everything that you could possibly do. I've got a clan boss team that I'm going to try and build around him with different options to see how we can activate him. We're going to try him in Hydra. We'll do a damage test on him. We'll see how good he is overall. yeah, I think he's going to be really fun. So if you want to join me for that, I'll put a link in the top left corner, and obviously at the end screen you can sort of remind yourself, hit the bell. I'll schedule the stream in advance. It should be quite fun. We do this with all the login champions. We kind of like see what we can theory craft. If someone wants to see how he works in specific content areas, we can obviously do so. So that's one thing to note. But between him and the Fusion, these are the two that you're most likely to be able to get from the 5 Monster Hunter champions they've added. There's a hero path available for the Alatrian, and the Void Legendary you're just going to have to summon, but I wouldn't worry about the Void Legendary. It's a really bad champion. And of course, the one that everyone wants, Nergigante Archer, that is the one that is available in the summons right now. I do have some shards I will be summoning for it, probably in a separate video, just so that we kind of keep this video on topic. So I will be going for the Fusion. I don't like missing out on champions, but even if this wasn't an exclusive champion, I would still go for it because it does something that nothing else in the game can really do, which is an attack-orientated, a damage-dealing, AoE increase buff that also has a self-buff increase attack with a very godly aura and a Leora's passive. That is too much for me to give up and say I can skip it. So let me know in the comments below, guys, what do you think about this champion after I've given sort of my assessment? Are you still saying it's average? Are you on the fence? Let me know. I do read your comments. I know some people said in the last video I never replied to comments. Normally I look and read all of your comments. I'll reply on the first sort of day of the video release. So I pay attention to everything my community says. It's very important to me, so that I understand where you guys are feeling, because that helps me make good content and also helps me represent what your views and your opinions are as well when we need to make statements and figure out things about the game as well. So let me know in the comments below. And of course, if this is your first time coming to this channel and you've enjoyed this video, remember to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification. I will be doing content on the free-to-play series. We will be doing that live stream with the Rathalos Blademaster in from now, around about 27 hours, which will be very fun. I need to do a bit of energy recovery before then. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.